Vilina, and today I'm going to be showing you the basics of HTML so you can get your foundation set up to start becoming a web developer. First of all, what you're going to need is a text editor. The one I use and I highly recommend is Sublime Text 3. You can go to their website, www.sublimetext.com, and click on 3 or 2. Either one will work perfect. 3 is the newest. I think it's still in beta. I'm not sure though. Another thing you can do is add an extension called Emmet. It's super easy to install. If you look it up, it might make your life easier, but I wouldn't worry about it too much right now. So once you download that and install it, you're going to get this gray screen that comes up over here, and this is your text editor. So what you're going to want to do to start our first HTML document, we're going to click File, New File. And right now it's just a blank text document. We need to give it an extension or a home. So we're going to name it with a convention of HTML so that it says this is an HTML document and the browser will read it and read the code, so it'll produce a web page once we start coding. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to save the document. We'll save it to the desktop. We'll call it wlcv1.html. So now it's an HTML document. So now we need our markup. Here you can pause the video, type this out. This is the basic markup for any HTML website right now, Html5. You have your doc type, which just says this is an HTML document. Next you have your opening and your closing brackets for HTML, saying this is an HTML document, and the language is English. Then you have your head element, which just says this is the information about the website. Also in your head element, you're going to put your style sheets, your links to your style sheets, your styling code, links to your JavaScript. That can also be put down at the bottom of your website, but we'll get into that later. Don't need to worry about that right now. It's just basic stuff. Next thing you're going to have is your title. This is the title to your web page. So this will show up inside your browser. Right now, real quick, let's just open this. So if you go to your desktop and double click on it, it'll open in a browser. Otherwise, you can right click and click open in browser. It's going to show right here, this is where the title will be. So right now, if we're going to change it from document to watch, learn, code, HTML. Save it, refresh your page, you're going to see it changed to watch, learn, code, HTML. And this white area over here, this is your body. This is where all the magic happens. This is where all the visible content will be shown. So once we start coding and we load up the web page, this is where you're going to see it. Then you have your closing HTML at the bottom here. So every tag you usually start with an opening and a closing tag unless it closes on itself, and we'll get into that a little later too. So first of all, what we'll go over, there's a bunch of HTML5 elements and you can look them up here. With all the HTML5 new elements, you can check out W3 Schools. You can go pretty much anywhere on the internet and it goes in depth into what they are. Stuff like article, aside, details, just things to define certain things on your website. And you can also have more than one article too. It doesn't need to be just one. So if we go back to this, we're going to look at some elements. Let's look at some heading elements. We'll look at H1 through H4. So if we make our H1s, H2, H3, and H4. And inside these, we'll just type something random. And also, if you hold Control and you click in Sublime, you can select multiple things with multiple cursors. So we'll type here, heading. Now, when we come back to our page, when we refresh, you're going to see the different sizes. We have an H1 up here, 2, 3, 4. Those are your default sizes. And you can always change these sizes later on with CSS, cascading style sheets, but we're not going to talk about that right now. We'll get to that later in a different video. So after our headings, we have paragraphs. Inside paragraphs, it's just like a basic thing to say this is a paragraph. If there's another paragraph after it, move it down, give it its default padding and margin, and you're good to go. So here we'll just type in some random stuff. So refresh it, there's a paragraph. We'll give it another paragraph. And then before this paragraph, I'm going to give a heading 2 of this is a paragraph. So you have your paragraph, another heading, another paragraph. You can already see you can start styling out your web page here with just basic HTML. So after these paragraphs and headings, we're going to look at lists. There's two types of lists. You have an unordered list and then you have an ordered list. With your unordered list, you're going to have bullet points. So you open it with an opening and closing UL. To close something, you just have a back or forward slash or backslash, and just you have LIs in between. So we're going to have LI1, LI2, LI3. You can see you have an unordered list here, bullet points 1, 2, and 3. So now if we want to make an ordered list, we're going to do the same thing, and you can just copy and paste it. It's super simple. If you ever make something, the easiest way to keep working on new projects is to save old projects and copy and paste. It's going to save you a ton of time. Change the UL to OL, ordered list. So now you have 1, 2, 3, but instead of bullet points, you have numerical values, 1, 2, 3, and so on. So now you have your headings, your paragraphs, your lists. Now we can look at some font styling. So you have your basic bolding, which would be strong, bold. See? Bold. Awesome. Covered a lot. Now you have italic. So if we go with M, italic. Now you have italic. You can see they're both right next to each other, and we don't want that. And one reason is we don't have the paragraph tags around it, so there's no default margin and padding and clears on it. So what we have to do is we have to put a page break. And something you can do with that is a BR element. So opening tag, BR, slash. There, now you got a page break in there. It's broke down and it's on its own line. So you can use BRs a lot. If you're going to use more than one or more than two, I just recommend going with a paragraph or jump into CSS, and we'll get to that later when we're going to do some more advanced things. Another thing you can look at is horizontal rules. So that's just an HR, and it creates a horizontal line. These can be styled, something you can do later on, but a lot of people just use them as their default for just a line through the page to separate elements. So we have our bold, italics, horizontal rule, lists, paragraphs, and headings. That's pretty much the basics you need to start off a web page. You're going to stop and pause the video, look over the code. It's super simple to understand once you start working with it. Read up on HTML5 Elements. There's a ton of stuff. We're going to start with responsive design later on too. Again, super easy. Pause the video. I'll include the source code. Let me know what you think, and we'll start with CSS next.